What up, guys? Welcome to this breakdown of UFC 259, Israel Adesanya versus Jan Błachowicz. We have an absolutely stacked card today. Let's get straight into it. So guys, today is the day, UFC 259, Adesanya versus Błachowicz. We have the reigning, defending middleweight champion moving up, looking for that double champ status, versus potentially a very unfair underdog, actually, in Jan Błachowicz, the Polish power, or as he potentially should be known these days, the middleweight slayer. But we'll have more on that shortly. Right, let's burn through this main card as fast as we can then, guys. So opening up the early prelims, you have Mario Batista versus Trevin Jones. I'm going to nod towards Mario Batista in this one. He's fought the higher level of competition, in my opinion, and he's only got the one loss in his record. It was a submission loss to Corey Sandhagen. Look where Corey is now. I know MMA math doesn't always work out that way, but that's not a loss that anyone can really be ashamed of on their record. I mean, arguably, if not for a little bit of cheap tactics, we could potentially have been seeing Corey Sandhagen in tonight's fight with Peter Yan for the bantamweight belt, but we'll cover that again later. Moving to the second fight of the night, you have Uros Medici against Dominic Cruz. Again, in this one, I'm going to have to take Uros Medici. Again, he's fought just a higher level of competition, in my opinion. He's been a little bit more spectacular and dynamic in the stand-up. Some of those shots you see him landing early to the body, it's just a game changer. There's no knock on Dominic Cruz at all. I just haven't really seen anything from him that leads me to believe he's going to be able to counter that. Up next, we're in the women's strawweight division with Olivia Hinata Souza versus Amanda Limos. I've seemed to be picking the second fighter to walk out all night so long so far, so I'm going to have to stick with that and go with Souza in this one. In my opinion, Limos really hasn't fought anyone other than Leslie Smith in the UFC, and she was TKO'd in that fight. Souza's just fought some more consistent competition throughout her run. She was very competitive in her fight with Angela Hill, and honestly, I just see her getting it done by decision tonight. Fourth match of the night, we have we're in the welterweight division with Sean Brady versus Jake Matthews. What do I say on this? Jake Matthews, man. He's beaten some solid competition, but he's also lost to some less than stellar competition. Don't get me wrong, he looked good against Emil Meek, but you can't go out there and I'm trying to say this without being disrespectful, but if you're fighting Diego Sanchez as he is now and you want to be considered a legit prospect, you need to finish him, okay? However, yeah, with all that said and done, Sean Brady also hasn't really beaten anyone. I mean, yes, he is coming into this fight with an undefeated record, but he hasn't beaten anyone of note other than a blown out Court McGee. So just on the experience level, I'm going to pick Jake Matthews. Don't make me regret it, and if I do, feel free to come back and rip me in the comments. Alright, moving up in weight to the light heavyweight division. So we've got Kennedy and Checkwood versus Carlos Allberg. I'm going with Allberg on this one, and Checkwood's absolutely fucking brilliant. Don't get me wrong, I expect some good things from him in the future, but I feel like he's kind of being fed to Allberg here. Allberg's the more decorated striker by far. He's got the better camp. Yeah, I could be wrong on this one, but I see Allberg first round TKO. I'll go second. Actually, let's go second round. Come on, let's give Kennedy some support. So finally, rounding out the prelims, we have Tim Elliot versus Jordan Espinoza. Again, pretty easy one for me. I'm going to go with Tim Elliot all day long. In my opinion, he's more tenacious, he's more wily. He's been in there with better competition. He's put some very good competition in danger. I don't think Jordan brings anything to the table that Tim Elliot hasn't either seen before, isn't going to be able to deal with, or isn't going to be able to funk his way out of, if we're being completely honest. We have Jorgerio Bonterine versus Kaika of France. What to say about this one, guys? Kai did not exactly get the result we were expecting in his last fight. However, I do see him just about getting it done in this one. I don't see it being a finish. Some people have been speaking about how this is a don't blink fight. Personally, I don't see it happening via finish. Both of these guys tend to finish their opponents when they're of a lower caliber. Right now, they're obviously fighting a slightly upper tier. They're both clearly top 10 guys, in my opinion. Again, I'm just going to go with almost to everything else I've said so far. Experience is key for me here. I'm going to go with Kaika of France decision. If you want to be specific on it, let's say 29-28. Moving up, we have Joseph Benavidez versus Askarov, and I'm not going to lie to you guys, this one kind of hurts to see on the card. I know Benavidez doesn't want to go out with that last fight, but he is one of these guys now. I am very content with never seeing him fight again. That last fight was just... It wasn't comfortable to watch. It wasn't fun to watch. It almost wasn't even entertaining. There is no way you could show that fight to someone and convince them that Joe Benavidez has been a perennial contender in that division since its inception. His time has definitely passed. I know he doesn't want to go out like that, but come on, Joey. Please hang it up after this one regardless. Even if you get a first round knockout, I don't want to see any hint at another title fight. Even if... I know Moreno's going back in there for the title fight soon, and you may think that's a fight that's a bit more winnable for you, but just don't do it, man. Please, get out of there while you can. And I think here, so without even speaking about his opponent once, I think you guys can guess who I'm going with in this fight. I'm going with Askarov. He's not a guy who finishes people for the most part, but I don't know. I'm not sure what state Joey Benavidez' chin is in anymore. I see him doing it potentially very similar to Figueiredo. I think he's going to crack him on the feet, and I think he's going to get the submission on the ground. Continuing on with the lighter weight classes here, we go on to Song Yadong versus Kyler Phillips. Yeah, I'm going with Song Yadong, and again, it comes down to experience for me. He's been in there with the better competition repeatedly. I mean, if you look at his last three opponents, for example, he fought Marlon Vera, Cody Stamann, and Alejandro Perez. And realistically, if we're looking at that Cody Stamann fight, he would have won if it weren't for the point he had deducted. And Marlon Vera proved again that he is dangerous against Sean O'Malley. So as for that reason, again, I'm not going to take Song Yadong by knockout. I can't see him doing anything overly spectacular. I can't see the win being without any controversy. So I'm going to say Song Yadong by potentially a split decision. Right, so closing up your preliminary card, we've got Dominic Cruz versus Casey Kenny. I don't know why the betting lines are this close. I am going with Dominic Cruz all day long. Dominic Cruz, I think, has gotten a bit of a bad rap recently. Obviously, he hasn't been particularly active, and I think people make a lot of his last two losses. They were both exceedingly competitive fights. If you go back and watch the Cody Garbrandt fight, you could arguably score it for Cruz. It was so shocking to us at the time that Cody Garbrandt did as well as he did, that I think everything he did right, we've sort of overmeasured in that fight. Cruz was landing very, very consistently, and the knockdowns weren't as heavy as some people are kind of implying that they are. If you go down and look, there might have been one or two, maybe one knockdown that looked like it was a real... Cruz was down and out of it. Every other one just looked like... Obviously, Dominic Cruz skits his feet very close together as he swaps stance. That's sort of half of his movement. I can tell you from personal experience, if you are swapping stances in that way and someone connects a punch on you, you are falling down. It doesn't matter how much the punch hurt you. It doesn't matter how hard it is. It's just basic physics and fucking body mechanics at that point. It's very hard to counterbalance yourself when your feet aren't underneath you. No disrespect to Casey Kenny, obviously. I think he's a great fighter with a good future. I don't think that Dominic Cruz is done just yet. But we'll see. Alright, without any further ado, let's move on to the main card. Let's rush through. We'll try and rush through this as well. I'm aware I'm eating up a bit more of your time than I thought I was, guys. So, first up, we've got Thiago Santos versus Alexander Rakitic. This is quite an easy one for me. I'm going with Alexander Rakitic. I personally think he won that Volkan Oezdemir fight quite convincingly. I had it 29-28 to Rakitic. In my opinion, he is the more sophisticated striker out of the two of them, and I cannot see Thiago Santos coming in here to try and take him down and put him down. Yeah, so I'm taking Rakitic. I just see him outlanding him on the feet. Almost the consistency. Maybe he'll take the third round off as he did against Oezdemir. It may go against him on the judges' scorecards. But I can't see Thiago Santos bringing much to this contest. I could be wrong. We've seen him hit hard before. But I mean, even if you just look at the way they both took apart Jimmy Manuwa, Thiago Santos got into a slugfest with him. It was very wild. When they were in those exchanges, a lot of people were expecting Jimmy Manuwa to pop out and land the shot that would put Santos down. Whereas when Rakitic put him down, it was picture perfect, textbook KO, no questions asked. It was beautiful. So Rakitic by KO in this one. Last fight before we hit all the title belts, Islam Makhachev and Drew Dober. Now, I think everyone's been sleeping on Dober for a long time, and I'm glad to finally see him getting some main card action, seeing him fight some sort of name value fighters. Unfortunately, as Makhachev, I'm not as hot on Makhachev as everyone else. Don't get me wrong, I think he's an incredible fighter. I'm not sure he's ever going to capture that belt. However, I am going to take Makhachev in this fight. I don't think Dober's got anything for his wrestling. I could be pleasantly surprised. Dober's shown good takedown defense in the past. He's shown good takedown, but I don't think he's fought anyone on this caliber of wrestling. Alright, so our first title fight of the night, we have Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling. Now, I think Yan is absolutely incredible. Please let me say that before I say anything else here. I don't want to detract from anything he has done. However, I think Aljamain Sterling's just been a little bit more impressive recently. If you look at his last couple of wins, I mean, you got the Corey Sandhagen one. Right now, we'll come back to that. The finish was a little bit dodgy. A lot of people will say that Sterling definitely manipulated the fence to his advantage. But how would the rest of that fight gone? I personally don't see a scenario in which Sterling wouldn't have managed to get that position naturally. So I'm just kind of going to give him a pass on this one, but let's not think too much into it. Anyway, yeah, I'm giving it to Sterling just based off of his last couple of wins have just been so impressive. I mean, Corey Sandhagen, Pedro Munoz, Jimmy Rivera and Cody Stamen, they're all very, very impressive wins. His last loss was to Marlon Moraes, and if you look at that fight, I mean, it was he got kneed in the head as he was coming in from a takedown. He shouldn't have shot that takedown from that far out. I don't know why he did. I say that he was having some success a little bit earlier in the round with the takedown. He shot in a bit of a desperation take that didn't go well. I'm hoping he's not going to do that again. I have got a little bit of money on him. But no, I just have Aljamain Sterling's just fended off an entire wave of the next wave of bantamweight on his way up to the belt. Peter Yan, for the most part, has been killing legends. Aljamain Sterling, I'll give by submission in the third round if I had to put a point on it. Right, next up in your co-main event, we have got potentially the sacrifice of the decade so far. We have got Amanda Nunez and Megan Anderson. I honestly have no idea why this fight's happening. The UFC have been trying to push Megan Anderson for a while. It's been very, very unsuccessful. If you give her an opponent with any name value or worth, she tends to get smashed fairly easily. I'm still pretty sure to this day that there has only ever been one fight that Holly Holm has won through wrestling and ground and pound, and that is against Megan Anderson. It's for that exact same reason why Amanda Nunez is going to smash her. I'm sorry. We've seen MMA. I know MMA math does not work this way, but we've seen Holly Holm fight Germaine de Randamie, and Germaine de Randamie managed to fend her off or stop her as far as most of the wrestling goes. That became a kickboxing bout very quickly. Holly Holm's clinch wasn't overly effective. We then saw Amanda Nunez pick Germaine de Randamie up and slam her on her fucking head whenever she wanted to. Now, I'm not saying Amanda Nunez is the wrestling queen of the bantamweight division. If she can pin down and beat someone like of the skill level of Valentina Shevchenko, I just don't see Megan Anderson shooting a lucky triangle off of her back. If you want a side bet, don't get me wrong, the odds on this one are ridiculous. So chuck a couple on Megan Anderson by all means. But no, I either see this being doctor's stoppage wouldn't surprise me in this one. It's going to be a one-sided beatdown. It is going to be horrible. Yeah, moving on. Let's try and perk it back up a little bit. So last but not least, we have Jan Błachowicz and Israel Adesanya. Now, Adesanya has basically been picture perfect in his entire UFC career so far. We haven't really seen him stumble. You could argue that his fight with Kelvin Gastelum could be considered a stumble. I don't know. I wouldn't see that as a stumble. The value that war added to Israel Adesanya's career and just to his stock in general is probably immeasurable. Standing across the octagon from him, though, is going to be Jan, the Polish power, Błachowicz, who I think it is fair to say the entire MMA community has discredited and discounted for the last 10 years. I mean, I'm not gonna blame him. I've bet against Jan 4 or 5 times in his last 6 or 7 fights. I'll be completely transparent on that. The boy keeps winning. I think it's mainly he's had some very big stumbles. You've seen him when he, say for example, I know it was a while back now, but if you look at the Gustafsson fight, it didn't feel close. It didn't feel like Gustafsson was in danger. It felt like Gustafsson was in a sparring match with someone who had just started. It was It's a rough one. Even if you go back and watch it now, you wouldn't believe you're looking at the same fighter. But that just speaks to the levels at which Jan Błachowicz has grown over the years. Which also leads me into my point at the start of this video. Jan Błachowicz has been slaying middleweights for fun. I mean, what kick-started this run from Jan in the first place, which has culminated with him taking the belt, was that emphatic knockout victory over Luke Rockhold, as he attempted to make a move up to the light heavyweight division, immediately followed by his win over Jacare. That being said, his last loss was also to Thiago Santos, and as much as I would love to see Jan get the upset win here, I can see the fight going similar to that Santos fight. Santos just appeared the more polished striker, and eventually he got him with the counters. And Israel Adesanya, especially after seeing that weigh-in, I don't think the size and power is going to be as big a factor as some people like to think here. I think Israel's potentially going to make this look easy. As with the Yoel Romero fight, we saw he got hit with one bomb early on, he recalculated and he made sure that never happened again. I think we're going to see more of the same from Izzy here today. I'm picking Israel Adesanya, 3rd round TKO. That's it for today, guys. Be sure to come back here if I'm wrong. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. I'm going to be doing breakdowns for every single card, plus a couple of other fun bits of content in between. So stick around, let me know what you think, and enjoy the fights, guys. Catch you soon.